Hello, boys and girls. I want to say that I miss everybody. Hello to Miss Williams' class, to Miss Foster's class, to Miss Stanley's class, and to my class. Today, we're going to review what you learned about rocks and minerals. Now, I don't have an easel here at my house, so I did the best I could to make one. When we finish today, you should be able to define what a rock is, what a mineral is, and you should be able to give an example of both. So let's start with rocks. Now, a rock is what? It is a hard, solid part of the earth. Okay, so that is what a rock is. Now, what do you know about rocks? Well, think about your rock hunt and after you sorted them. Rocks have different colors and textures. Now, that word texture is probably something that Mr. Boyd has talked to you about in art. Now, I also told you that you would be able to define them and then you should be able to give an example. So what are two examples of rocks? One example is granite. And another example is sandstone. Remember from our lesson last week. Now, let's go to minerals and talk about what a mineral is. A mineral is non-living, it's a non-living material that rocks are made of. Okay? Now, what about minerals? Well, like rocks, they have different colors and textures. Okay, now let's go back up here. I put have different, I left out the word colors. Okay, and this is something that they have in common. Now, Mrs. Williams is going to talk to you and has talked to you about comparing and contrasting, finding out the ways that things are alike and different. Well, the way that rocks and minerals are alike is because they both have colors and textures. They're different because a rock is a solid part of the earth and a mineral is what rocks are made of. So now let's give examples of minerals. Now, one of the examples was quartz. Now, another example of a mineral is one that sometimes jewelry is made out of. What might that be? Shiny gold. Another example of a mineral is one that you actually eat. You might have it for dinner. You might put it on your food, and that would be salt. Good. Okay, so a quick review. Rocks are hard, solid parts of the earth. They have different colors and textures. Examples are granite and sandstone. Minerals are non-living materials that rocks are made of. They have different colors and textures, just like rocks. And examples are quartz, gold, and salt. Now, let's focus on rocks for just a minute. And we are going to look at words that describe rocks. These are the physical properties of rocks. These are words that you use to describe them, or maybe you sorted your rocks this way. So if you sort a rock by its size, what words might you use to describe the size of a rock? Okay, so you can have either a big rock, and what's another word for big? Large. Some rocks are even huge, aren't they? What's the opposite of big or large? You might find a small rock. Now think about something other than, think about like the width. Is it wide? Okay, what's the opposite of wide? Thin. So what's another word for wide that is kind of related to thin? That would be thick. Okay, so now let's think about the weight of a rock. When you picked it up and you felt it, you could say that it would be heavy. And the opposite of heavy would be light. So heavy would be one that you would have a hard time picking up, and light would be easier. Let's go over here to pattern. Think about Mr. Boyd in art class when he talks about the pattern. Does it have maybe stripes? Did any of your rocks have stripes? Or did your rocks have spots? I know that when I would go to the beach and pick up rocks with my dad, we would always hold them up to the sun and see if we could find things within the beach rocks. Now let's think about texture. Now texture is another word that Mr. Boyd probably talked to you about. Think about when you're touching something, the texture. How does it feel? Is it rough? The opposite of rough would be smooth. What about another word for rough? If it's rough, it might be bumpy. Okay. It might be flat. That might not be actually the texture. That might be more shape. And the opposite of a flat rock would be a pointy rock. And like I said, that might not be as much texture as it is shape. So think about the shape of a rock. Were any of your rocks round? Or were they oval? If you think about oval, would any rocks be a cube? Which we're going to talk about shapes in math this week. Would any of them be shaped like a cube? And then, of course, when we're talking about the physical characteristics or the properties of a rock, you can talk about color. So any of the colors, white, black, red, blue, purple, any of those, okay? So are there any other words that we might have left off that would describe a rock? How about long? Was it a long shaped rock? You could either maybe put that size or shape. Any other ones? Okay, so now let's review. When we're thinking about rocks, these are the physical properties. It's what they look like, the size, the shape, the color, the texture, whether it had pattern or the weight, how heavy or light it was. Rocks are hard, solid parts of the earth. They have different colors and textures. Granite is an example, and so is sandstone. Minerals are long, non-living material that rocks are made of. They also have different colors and textures. Quartz, gold, and salt are minerals. I hope you enjoyed this quick review. We're going to talk about soil, so I'll see you in a little while. Bye, guys.